Welcome to Ms. Hamilton's tutorial video on writing a body paragraph for our research paper using the Schaffer method with two chunks. You want to first decide which of your two research questions would you like to begin with. I'm going to begin with this question: why are honeybees important to humans? I'm going to take my question and flip that into my topic statement. That is the first step in writing a Schaffer method paragraph. The topic statement, of course, expresses the main idea that you'll be writing about. I have written, honeybees are important to humans for several reasons. I have highlighted this in green. Next, I'm going to begin with a concrete detail. This is called CD Sentence 1. I have highlighted it in pink. A concrete detail is a specific piece of evidence or an example that I have found through my research. This is where your note cards will come in handy. Let's take a look. I can look to my note cards for specific evidence or examples that I can use either in my own words or that I can copy word for word as a concrete detail sentence. If I look at my notes, then I can go back and see what I've learned in my research. And I can decide what do I want to use. And now I'm ready to begin writing. So I'm going to close that out. Let's go back to our document. I have decided to begin with my book source. I have summarized this information or paraphrased it in my own words. Honeybees have been important to humans throughout history, including the Pilgrims who came to America in the 15th century and who brought their honeybees with them to continue their ways of farming in the New World. How did I get this parenthetical reference to show where this information came from? There are two things to keep in mind. If I go back to my note cards, then I can double check and see what the source was, of course. And if it's from a book, in the identifier box, we've talked about how it's important to include the page number. So this information came from this source. If I go back to my projects and I open the bibliography, then I can go and find that source in my list. Okay. How do I create the parenthetical reference, whether I'm putting it in my own words or copying it word for word? Find the source and then look for the word that says parenthetical. When you click on this, this will give you the information fields of importance. If it's a book, you want to leave pages checked and put in the appropriate page number. If there is not a print book, then you can uncheck pages and leave it blank. Now, I simply copy and paste that into the end of my paragraph. Remember that with parenthetical references, we put that at the end of the sentence and the period goes on the outside. Because I have put this information in my own words, I do not need to use quotation marks. Now I'm ready to write my two commentary sentences. This is where I reflect on the information, connect it back to my research question, and interpret the information. Here's what I have written. They are highlighted in yellow, these commentary sentences. The fact that the Pilgrims placed importance on packing their beehives with them when space was limited on the Mayflower shows they understood how vital honeybees were to their survival. Furthermore, the Pilgrims also understood that honeybees could produce honey that was essential to making homemade salves for cuts and wounds. This is where I have interpreted the information and done my own analysis of how it relates back to my research question. Now I'm ready to get my second piece of evidence from my research and write a concrete detail sentence. This is my beginning of my second chunk. Your first chunk includes the concrete detail and the two commentaries. Your second chunk will include your second concrete detail sentence and the 2 commentary sentences that we'll see more in depth in just a moment. For this next concrete detail, I am going to use a combination of my own words as well as a direct quote as part of my concrete detail sentence. I will put quotation marks around the information that I've copied directly. Again, I've taken this from my note card and then combined it into my own words. Here is what I have written. In addition, bees pollinate a third of everything that humans eat, including some 84% of the crops grown for human consumption. Around 400 different types of plants need bees and other insects to pollinate them to increase their yields and quality. The quotation marks go around the part I've copied directly, but the period will still go at the end of the parentheses. Again, how do I know what to do? If I go back to that source, then I can go to it and then get the parenthetical reference through the help of EasyBib. Let's see how I did that. Here's my source. It is a news article from The Guardian, which is a British newspaper. And now I'm going to click on parenthetical, and EasyBib will help me generate the parenthetical reference. Because I do not have actual page numbers, I can uncheck identifier, and this is all that I need to copy and paste as my parenthetical reference. Now I'm ready to write my 2 commentary sentences. One can see by this data that bees are essential to the ecosystem, to farmers who grow crops, and to the production of food for humans. Therefore, if honeybees continue to vanish in large numbers, humans will face a serious problem with food supply because there may not be enough bees to pollinate crops and keep up current levels of farming and harvesting of food. These are my own ideas where I am taking that data or that evidence or that example and interpreting it and analyzing it and connecting it back to my research question. Now I will end my paragraph with my 8th sentence, the concluding sentence. I've highlighted it in green. Without a doubt, honeybees are important to humans because of their role as pollinators and the healing properties of the honey they produce. I have restated the main idea and summarized my 2 pieces of evidence. Altogether, I now have a very clear and well-developed paragraph. On the handout that I will give you to accompany this video, I have given you written notes on how I have broken down this information. You will also note that I have used transitions to help introduce each concrete detail and each commentary. You can look back at your handout with the overview of the Schaffer method to see the list of possible transitions. In conclusion, I have 8 sentences with 2 chunks. Let's review. In closing, let's review the Schaffer 2-chunk structure. You have a topic statement where you'll use the race strategy to flip your research question into a sentence. Chunk 1 will have 3 sentences, concrete detail plus 2 commentaries. Your concrete detail must have paraphrased or directly quoted information from your note cards and research in EasyBib. Chunk 2 will have 3 sentences. This is where you present your second piece of evidence from your research in your own words or copied directly. Again, 2 commentaries. You will close the paragraph with a concluding sentence where you restate the main idea and summarize your 2 concrete details and pieces of evidence from the research. A final reminder about direct quotes. You must have wording of your own to introduce the information that you are sharing that is copied word for word. Put direct quotes around the information that you have copied word for word. Let's take a look at the example. In addition, bees pollinate a third of everything humans eat, including, so there's my wording of my own to introduce the information that I'm going to copy and use as it is. You put the information you've copied word for word in quotation marks. Remember that the parenthetical reference, which you generate with EasyBib, will come at the end, and the punctuation, the period, goes on the outside of the parentheses. Please see Ms. Hamilton if you need any additional help or have questions.